Hello and welcome to Transformation Now. Hi, I'm Rita, rocker, speaker, author, trainer with SoaringHigher.rocks, and I am just really privileged to talk to you about so many different things that go on in our lives. And right now I'm working through my book and the workbook with it, Hope at the End of Your Rope, Steps to Rebuild Your Life. And those are things that from personal experiences, not only that I've experienced, but other people, and stories in there too of things that they overcome. So that's so important. And so I just continuing from where I was at the last time, talking about breakthroughs that we need from anger, unforgiveness, loss, grief, all of those types of things, and the choices that we make, because we make choices that are either going to move us forward or keep us where we are or even move us backwards. So breakthrough comes when we do not allow things that have affected our lives to affect anymore. You know, it could be that we've become too tired of reaping the same old problems, the same old stuff all the time. And so we're moving forward, but we have to make those decisions to do that. I've seen so many people without arms and legs, and so many people that have gone through absolutely horrific things in their lives, and yet they overcame because they chose to, okay? So a lot of times anger and those feelings inside of us, or depression, whatever it might be, come from triggers of something that happened in the past. A song plays, and when you hear it, you think of someone that you really were in love with when you danced that song, and then they took off and went somewhere else, and it's like that triggers an unhappiness, a sadness, a lot of times, something like that. You hear somebody say something on a movie, and maybe it was something that a parent or a teacher or someone said to you, and it's like, oh, crush my heart, make me angry, whatever the case may be. Triggers happen all the time in things that we watch on TV, that we hear, that we see other people doing, and so you have to be really careful with those trigger moments to not get into that mindset and rehash those things and think about them, but to switch your thoughts to just the opposite. You know, oh, he always said I was never going to amount to anything. No, I am more than enough. You know, sometimes you just have to get really stubborn and strong and go, no, I'm not buying that. I'm not going to ruin the rest of my life. So that's really important to think about. So think about any situations or triggers that you want to work on. Okay, so what do you need to remove yourself from? Again, like I've said before, there are people, places, things, experiences, words that have caused that. But can you remove that situation? Yes or no? A lot of times it's fear of the unknown. No, I better stay with this person or stay in this job because I don't know what's out there. I'll probably just get rejected. I know I'm really not good enough to do that anyway. Then that's where we stay. So is this something literally that you can overcome? Like all the people I've shared in the past, famous people. Michael Jordan said he, was told he wouldn't amount to anything in basketball, so he went home and went in his bedroom and cried. I mean, really? There are so many things that have happened to so many people, and it was like, no. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't meant for TV, be on a radio program or do something else. Well, good grief. I mean, everybody in the world knows that name. And so did she let those words and those things keep her down and cause her not to achieve her dreams? No. And we can do the same thing. So can you really remove those triggers? Can you really remove those situations? Because so many times, yes, we can. I mean, there are times when we have to be a caregiver or do something where, we may have steps that we need to take to overcome those things, but not end it for us. I just saw something, just a few days ago, and it was on YouTube, I think, and it showed a man in a swimming competition. What was different about this man? I couldn't tell how old he was. I'm thinking maybe mid-20s. Okay, he had no arms, and he had one leg. The other one was gone. And I thought, oh my gosh. And he's got his goggles on and everything, and he's right there ready to go. And so this other man comes up behind him, picks him up, sets him into the pool. And I was just like, oh my gosh, look at this. This guy is swimming with one leg, and that's it. nothing else. But he was able to maneuver his body. I don't know how in the heck he did it. And, get his breath and do everything. I don't know how the competition ended because they didn't show that part, but I was flabbergasted. I mean, really? And we think a lot of times when we have obstacles, oh yeah. But when I see people like that, or Nick Vujicic, who talks all over the world, and now he's married with 2 or 3 kids, no arms, no legs, either one. Got one little flipper on his hip. That's it. And so a lot of times we're just going to have to get over people saying things and going, nope, I can play a guitar with my feet. I can drive a car with my feet, because I've seen those pictures, those videos. I can play a violin with one arm. Yeah. So, at least think about those things, because it's easy to get down and feel bad, feel sad, but we can overcome those just like all these other people have. So, sometimes it's a good idea just to sit down quietly with a journal, always pen and paper, not on the computer, not taking notes that way, and think about any of those triggers. Find scriptures. You can find scriptures to help you get through any kind of trial that you may be going through, any kind of trial. And start thinking that I love motivational, inspirational movies and quotes and things like that, because it lifts me up and says, hey, if they can do it, I can do it too. It's all what's going on up here. And so then speaking the opposite, and I've had to say sometimes, which is scriptural, I'm a daughter of the King. We are made in his image. That's in the Bible, and I trust that. And so when I called myself a dumb word I can't say one time for something that I did that was kind of silly, and I heard God say right there and then to me, who are you calling that? You asked me to take up residence within you. If I am within you, how can you call yourself that? Whoa. I had tears rolling down my cheeks. I said, Father, I am so sorry. And that helped a lot, because if we feel like we're in a really terrible image, well, what does that do? If we're made in God's image, which we are, what are we saying? And so think about that. If you feel like you have a very low self-image, you're made in his image. He made everything. So that's pretty darn special, okay? So think about that. And when you want to beat yourself up, like I've been very good at doing all my life, it's like, nope, I'm his kid. I'm his kid, made in his image, and then leave it at that, because that's the truth. Okay, Philippians 3:13 says, forget the former things and what lies behind, and reach forward to what lies ahead. And so, I remember thinking that when I had a husband die of cancer many years ago, and I was like, forget the former things, don't lean on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Don't you perceive it? I'm making springs in the desert and away in the wasteland. And I took my Bible and threw it across the room, and I went, yeah, right. And terrible thing to do. Later I said, please, I'm sorry. But God understands our hearts. I mean, Jesus understands every kind of torment and torture there is. So they understand. God, Holy Spirit, Jesus, they understand, okay? So think about that. Place it in his hands and leave it there. And it's really easy to take things back. Okay, Lord, here, I give this to you. Thank you. Oh, I got to take it back, though, because I have to do whatever over here. I have to do this because I think it's right. And then maybe it isn't right. And it's like, uh-oh, here you are, Lord. Here you are again. And so I've done that. I know a lot of people that have, but we just keep fighting. We just keep fighting through it all. So think about that. Forget the former things. Don't lean on the past. He's doing a new thing. If we allow him to, and don't keep grabbing it back and doing things that really aren't what he chooses for us to do, because he knows what we need to do to move forward, okay? So think about that. Give yourself the gift of healing. And that's another thing, because we can't deny the pain we endured. I remember when I had a nephew that was 27, and he got hit by a car walking to my sister and brother-in-law's house and died. And my brother-in-law never grieved that. And so we have to know that we have to grieve. We have to get that out of us, or it builds inside. And it caused so much pain and so much anger and so many things inside of us. So, we have to grieve. There's constructive and destructive grief. Okay, there's both. And so we need to think about that as well. And I learned that, destructive grief would be always wallowing in anger, always getting drunk, always, like the drugs, doing things, running around, messing around, doing things that actually are destructive, because it's something that keeps our mind off of our pain or our problem. And so I did that in my past. In order to be distracted so that we're not thinking about this issue or this lifestyle, we do all these other things. That is destructive. Okay, sometimes people in destructive, somebody passed away, like a spouse, and so they immediately want to go find somebody else and get married. Or they immediately want to sell their house and move somewhere else. We have to let ourselves have time to heal. Otherwise, we're carrying all that pain, anger, angst, whatever it is, into another relationship, into another home, whatever the case may be. So please give yourself time to heal when you've gone through something really rough. We don't need somebody in our lives right away to try to be that part that we're missing. No, we can't do that. So you take control of your future. Let yourself heal. I remember after my husband had died many years ago, and so I couldn't just be in that same place. It hurt. Because everything was a reminder, but I knew I couldn't run away. We were renting anyway. It wasn't a home that we owned. And so I moved into an apartment within that complex and, did my grieving and my healing there. But I just wanted a little bit different environment every day. So, I just did that. But it was in the same complex. And then a friend came over that I knew for a long time. And she said, well, she and her husband didn't think I was grieving properly. I said, you know what? I've been grieving for the whole 2 years that he has fought cancer off and on. So a lot of times other people don't know and should not judge us and tell us how to grieve. But again, there's destructive grief, which is not good for anybody. And then there's constructive grief, which is allowing yourself time to grieve, be around kind people, nice people who will be there for you. Spend time with God. That's so important because he can talk to you, he can minister to you, he can heal your heart. And so think about those times to allow yourself to heal, but do things positive. Get out and be with other people. Watch movies that are funny on TV sometimes or at a theater. Anything like that to help lift you up. So remember, there's constructive and destructive grief, and I learned a lot of lessons over the years that have applied to me not very long ago as well. So you always want to do that. And so the Lord is bringing you into a new land, okay? And whatever provisions you need, pray for them, and he will bring those about. It's not always easy. It takes a lot of faith and a lot of courage and a lot of strength to do that, but that's what he's there for. Okay, chapter 5 is called Healing from Loss. Loss of a spouse, a child, a sibling, a best friend. Could be loss of a beloved career or a business. How many people have we seen lose their businesses the last 3 years? Okay, that's devastating. All right, loss of health, loss of a limb, an arm and a leg, or both of them, or all of them, or whatever. Loss of a house, either through financial difficulty, being left, could be a fire that destroyed the house, could be, look how many people are living in their cars. Just look up California, for instance. And so think about those things. There's a lot of loss that we can grieve, but a lady that I had used to, do programs with, Christian women, and she had experienced the house burning down completely, totally burned down. There was nothing left of it. And then not too long after that, her husband was in an accident and got killed. And so, she's been remarried for years. She has her doctorate now. She's really involved in her church and in ministry, particularly to women. And so, that was devastating. She lost everything, but she picked herself back up and got back in the race. And so we have to heal from loss. That is so important to do that. I want everything to get back to normal. That normal will never be there again. And, I even learned that when my dad passed away. I wasn't particularly close to him like I was my mom. But, I realized, hey, this isn't going to stay normal. We have to establish a new normal. And when I realized that, I thought, well, that really helps a lot to learn that we have to establish a new normal, okay? And that's what we do. And so we can also help other people when they need to establish a new normal. Why? We've been there. We've done that. We can show them, hey, I got through it. You can get through it too. So also, suffering is temporary. I've heard of, I think a lot of times with young people too, their boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever broke up with them. And they thought their life was over and literally committed suicide. And so a lot of times we think of that, and I've had to do that myself. This too shall pass. This is temporary. It's not the rest of my life. So don't give up. You know, so many times I've heard when people do in their lives, it's not that they want to die, they don't. They just can't live like that anymore. So they're looking at it from a different perspective. I just can't live like that anymore. Okay, that was a little piece of the movie that I talked about before, that Love 101 on Netflix with one poor guy, but it ended well. And so think about that this too shall pass. When my husband was down in Oklahoma, used to be the City of Faith Hospital, and I didn't have any place to stay for the 6 weeks, you know, except in his room or in the lobby if he was in ICU. And I felt abandoned a lot of times. I mean, I really did. I just felt lost. And then I kept hearing in my spirit, this too shall pass, okay? And so it's temporary. I've told other people that. It will pass, okay? It will. You may never forget this person or this thing, but it will pass, and you will move on, and you can have a good, productive life like the lady whose house burnt down, and then her husband died. And she's been happily married now for many years. Beautiful home, got her PhD, like I said, and life went on slowly through the healing process. So think about that. You know, if there was a breakup, did addictions happen because of it? And somebody homeless? Honestly, I was last year for a few months because of what I went through. Nothing I'm proud of, but it happened. You know, so what are some of those things? And then how can you fight your way back? I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a commercial right now for the new George Foreman movie. Oh my gosh, you know, I remember George Foreman as a boxer. But this is the life story of him and how they were dirt poor as he grew up. And then he became a boxer, and then I didn't really follow George Foreman that much, but, you know, became, I guess, a successful boxer. Then he lost. I don't even know exactly what happened. And he and his wife were poor, and they needed help. They needed to do something. But as he gave his heart to God, he wanted to be a minister. He wanted to give his heart to God, so he left boxing. And then when they had financial difficulties, he told his wife, he said, you know, I want to serve God, but this is the way I can make money. So he went back into boxing. And so it tells the life story of him and what he overcame to get back in there, get back on their feet. And then it shows him sitting down as an older guy then. And, you know, he had gained weight and stuff and just kind of a jolly guy. And he was talking to a man that said, oh, I've noticed how successful the George Foreman grill is now, which has his name on it. I don't know what he had to do as far as the connection that his name had to that particular grill, but he said something, you know, about a big old guy trying to help people eat better, I think was his comment, you know, on grilling. And so I think that's a really good story of going from poverty, lack, being totally down and out to being successful and happy. And so he did what he had to do, what it took to go forward. So think about that as well. And so creating ways to establish a new normal, okay? So loss of a partner, no matter how it happened, okay, then you want to start a new normal. I've seen through grief share programs, I've known people personally who have gone through those. If you go to one that's especially Christian oriented, that's positive, I've actually known of 2 couples that met there, and down the road after they healed and everything else, actually ended up, they got married. And that's not the point of doing this, but, you know, they would be able to share their heart, share their hurts. They had each other to watch their backs and to comfort them. But then they would also set times to go to a movie, they would go out to eat, they'd have a picnic, and so they were doing things to help establish a new normal that were positive, that were really, really helpful, and renew their heart, renew their spirit. And so even if it's a loss of someone, there's organizations that can help. I'm seeing things like with youth emergency services and how they're taking kids off the street. I mean, I don't know how these kids survive, especially in the winter, but they're taking them off the streets as much as they can, feeding, clothing, and getting them back on their feet too. So, that's a new normal from the things that they've experienced, but that's important too. Maybe if you have the time and are able to get a part-time job to earn more money, maybe to get out of debt or to get a nicer place to live, something like that. So sit down and make a plan of the things that would be positive in helping you move forward. And maybe something that you've wanted to do for a long time, coaching kids, maybe see what's going on with a little league or something where you can be a part of an organization that will get out there and help. I mean, sometimes it just be, yeah, okay, I'll go to the ball games. They don't really need a coach, but maybe a water boy. Maybe you're just handing out drinks, but you're having fun. You're with people. You're doing positive things. And hearing people laugh, seeing them have a good time again. So volunteering or visitations. The young man that I know has a heart, and so do I actually, for going to senior residences where a lot of the people don't have anybody that cares about them, that's there for them. And so think about that too. Where can you go? What can you do to help someone else? Because the best way to help get started over or to get rid of a lot of the pain and depression that you may be feeling is to go help someone else. It's a blessing. We get our minds off of that. So think about those things and just know, I have to establish a new normal. Now, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And sit down and think of the steps that you need to do, because we can never stay in that place. It's gone. So we take steps to do a new one. And a lot of times it's in a better place. I'm not talking about the loss of a spouse, but I mean, there are a lot of times it can give us steps and lead us to a better life than what we had before. And so think about that too. Okay, chapter 6 is turning winter into spring. Right now we're into winter. Spring's around the corner, and we're all pretty excited about that. And so life is the same. It's even Tony Robbins, very, very famous, and he said, we're in a winter season right now. And he meant in all ways, what's going on in the world and everything, but we aren't going to stay there. And you don't have to either. So every circumstance can be used to fulfill your destiny. And how is that? How can these jobs that I hated be anything that can help me reach my destiny? Well, maybe you worked in a filing system, in a filing room one time. Oh, yuck, I really hate this. But did you learn how to organize business, organize life, organize things? Because a lot of times the jobs we had, we maybe didn't like them, but we learned people skills, we learned professional skills. We learned things from that job that we couldn't stand that really we could take with us to the next job, the next step up the ladder. And so we take all those experiences, the good ones and the bad ones, and then know which ones not to do anymore as we move forward. So think about that. Firsthand, that nothing is too difficult for God to take care of and deliver you from, whether it's widowhood, divorce, illness, abuse, financial devastation, whatever the case may be. Okay? So again, but God's timing is not ours. I always feel like, oh yeah, he's waiting till 11th hour and 59 minutes, and sometimes we want something to happen now, and he goes, no, this other person you're going to be with isn't prepared yet, or no, you have to learn these things so you don't keep making the same mistakes. Okay, I speak from experience there, when you're moving forward. So his timing is not ours. That doesn't mean he's not listening. It just means that a few more things have to happen first before we're completely ready and prepared to go into that big one, big jump that we have. And so think about that, what steps you want to take to bring positivity into relationships. And even lately, I've had to trade in, a couple friends for some new friends. I prayed about it, and God brought new friends in, because sometimes if you see someone, one of the friends I did things with, would get mean, and a few people described her literally as toxic. Okay, so I finally said, you know what? I can't keep being nice and going back to that friendship because it's not good. I didn't treat her meanly or anything like that, but I just really don't call her or anything anymore. But sometimes we have to do that. So think about that. And then the demeanor is so important, that outward demeanor and the things that might be negative or preventing us from going ahead. You know, a demeanor is what people see on the outside, how we look, how we act, our facial expressions, what we're doing, and just how we're communicating with people. So a demeanor is actually the outward behaviors of what's going on in here and in here. Right? Demeanor is everything, you know, in so many ways. It reflects our inward beliefs, and it comes out in our demeanor. Okay, it's our attitude. A lot of times, what is our attitude? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it negative? Is it loving and kind? What is our attitude? Is it positive even when things are tough? Are we easy to be around because we have that kind of demeanor that attracts people that know we're going through a lot, but it's like, wow, look, you're still hanging in there. You're still being positive. Or is it an uncooperative and angry demeanor? I looked up the word demeanor. I knew what it meant. But some of the words, and these are just a few of the list, was abrasive, abusive, cowardly, creepy, guarded. A lot of people are guarded because they're afraid. Jittery, malicious, strange, defiant. And then there are the good ones, you know, like I mentioned, that people like to be around you because you're positive and you're a go-getter and you're going to move forward. So think about that. Our demeanor says a whole lot to people, and then they'll decide if they want to get to know us better, to be around us, or push us away. So demeanor and attitude, the outlook, is critical. Okay? So what experiences could move you forward to help others? Again, get involved with a charity. Big brothers, big sisters, if you like mentoring kids. School, what could you do at school to volunteer? Oh my gosh, they need all kinds of volunteers to help in schools. If that's something on your heart, do that to help heal your own heart. And you can start noticing and picking out the ones that are getting abused or trouble. You see it on their face. You understand it. You relate to it because you've been there. Okay, so think about fostering, or fostering a rescue dog. I wish I could. I will one of these days. A woman's group to get into. A book club that's doing books that are positive, and you have fellowship, and you have snacks and conversations, and you don't have to be eloquent. You don't even have to really say anything, but you're around people and you're learning new things from them. Emergency services, all kinds of things. So think about those experiences to move you forward as you're helping other people. Those two go together. I mean, even Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins, I mean, their testimonies are unbelievable. And they went through a lot of hellacious things. And, you know, if mom kicks you out of the house with a knife on Christmas Eve, and you go sleep on a hill and it's cold, that was Tony. I mean, there were so many things that went on, but he's up to almost like 1 billion people to feed because he knows what it's like to have Thanksgiving and no food, you know? And somebody brought all the food to the door that God told him to do, and his dad said, we're not taking charity, and it was like, hey, excuse me, these kids are hungry. And so pride, that was another thing to get in the way. So then just a couple more minutes here. Illness and grief. I've been through a whole lot of it. My family has. But as you allow God, he can take your confusion, which is like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Do I do this? Do I that? What do I do? Lack of self-esteem and general outlook on life, and show you who you really are. You're his kid, okay? He's your dad. And sometimes I call him Papa because that just is a closer feeling to that. But he reveals his nature to you and through you. Okay, so look forward to seeing you next time. Be blessed, and talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.